meeting is being recorded.
Welcome. My name is Kirsten Allen, and in today's training, we are going to be talking about how you can grow your business and your impact by landing corporate contracts. And I'm super excited about this conversation because I'm going to walk you through the steps and I'm going to show you exactly what this can look like for you and your business. And as we go along, I want you to put yourself in each stage of this process and look at how this could potentially work for you and start to get infused in honestly what's going to end up being our process of how we work with corporate clients that we are bringing into this conversation today. So I couldn't be more excited to talk with you about this. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first piece about landing amazing corporate contracts with clients and being able to have an impact, not just being relational or not just being transactional rather, but truly being relational in this process and developing repeatable contracts and having a B2B side of your business, it all boils down to creating a strong foundation, which is going to be our first pillar that we're going to talk about today, which is what is your offer? What are you bringing to market? How can you package your expertise in a new way that not only impacts where you currently are, which could be working in corporate America or working with individual clients? How can you now reimagine, what I like to say, those services, that expertise into something that's now going to impact organizations at a large scale? Also with that, you want to begin thinking about how does that expertise, how does that outcome, that transformation directly align with the priorities of organizations that you're working with? That is going to be the key piece. Oftentimes, I'll see people just sending out blanket messages and just trying to see what can stick, right? But the process that we follow is all about aligning with those priorities. Number one, that's the first thing that we do. So whether that's through having market research conversations, which is also a good way to strengthen your lead pool, but also just diving into the minds of your decision makers, not just the people that'll be consuming your information, but what is keeping your decision makers up at night? What is something that will make them the hero or the star of their department? And how can you be a thought partner, a co-creator with them to help them rise to that level and ensure that not only their organization is successful, but the company at large, the work that they do is now amplified because you've come in and provided this amazing solution. So when you think about your offer and what you have to bring to organizations, start thinking about that ultimate transformation. Whether you want to work with for-profit organizations, nonprofits, universities, K-12, or even the government, think about what is the ultimate payoff for those individuals that are going to be working with you, and think about what priorities they already have. That's the big piece of this as well. Align with organizations that already are either spending in this area or they have priorities, corporate priorities, like things they're actually measuring against that align with the work that you do. That's the first starting point and the foundation, because as we go along and I share these different processes with you, it's going to be imperative to have that clear transformative outcome that you're going to provide and that you've already identified that there's some alignment in the space. So if you don't know, I'm going to give you some quick things to firm this up. If you're not sure what that could look like, you want to schedule market research conversations. This can be with people that you know. You'll be surprised if you just put it out there and say you want to have some conversations about your particular service and be very clear on what type of people you're looking for and make sure they're decision makers, right? Not the people who would be receiving your work or maybe a part of the overall engagement, but who's going to be signing the checks. Those are the people that you want to speak with and have an open conversation about what their needs are, what their priorities are, and approach it as a consultative salesperson. When I think about my career, and despite the space, I've been in this space for just under a decade. And the best salespeople and how I was able to find success was through understanding how I can build relationships that go beyond just solving one problem. How can I begin to start to seed in what I can provide, but also understanding what is it that they truly need? Oftentimes, the best salespeople are the ones who talk the least, the ones who are running their mouths and trying to, you can do this and you can do that, and all the things, and just trying to give more quantity versus quality. those are the people that are struggling to meet their target and their goals. The individuals who understand that sales is a service, that providing your product or your service or solution is about solving a problem for them, those people ultimately do the best in sales. And so I brought that perspective and what worked for me in this space to what I do in my programs and with clients, because it's really the key. It's how you unlock, it's how you, what the payoff really is for you is understanding how you can tap into that by understanding and building your programs and services around what their true needs are. So the offer has to be solid. You can do those market research conversations. If you're already in the space, then you probably already have a great idea. You have people in your network that you can tap into. But again, strangers, even people just on LinkedIn or on Facebook, wherever you hang out, strangers love to be able to talk about what it is they do and figure out better ways that they can do it. So if you put that post out there or just look at people and see on LinkedIn if they have some alignment and send them a message. This has worked for me personally several times. I've been able to meet some great people and have great conversations. Do that so that you can get super clear on your offer and you're not just putting something together that sounds good, but it connects to the priorities. It connects to what keeps them up at night. It's the step up to making them the hero of their department. That's the way that you want to look at it throughout this entire process. So the offer is the first piece that you want to get very clear. The second part that's most important in this is now how are you going to find more of these people, right? There are so many different ways that you can generate leads and be able to work with corporations. And oftentimes I'll hear people say, well, where do I find these people? They're not hiding, right? They're everywhere that you are, quite honestly. But how you get to stand out and why my processes have worked so well, especially with clients. And I've gotten messages back from clients that'll say, you know, I never respond to these, but potential prospects will respond to them saying, I never respond to these messages. I never get on these calls, but something you said really connected with me. And you know what that is? It's because any type of outreach that I do or part of my process or share with clients is all about them. And I give this feedback to clients quite often when they send me like, hey, I'm going to send this email. I'm like, take out everything about you. Like literally maybe one or two sentences just for them to understand why you're reaching out, why this is a conversation they want to have. But the reason they respond is because oftentimes people lead in talking about them. They do no research. They have no connection point. But in our process, why people can do this efficiently and why they see responses from it is because it's all about them. It's all about how you can serve them. It's all about, hey, I took a look at this. I saw this opportunity here. I see you prioritizing this. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. Do you have a few minutes to chat? That's it. An open conversation is what can help you to generate that. So that's the conversation piece. But how can you then begin to build those cold relationships and do the outreach and all the things? Obviously, you know, one of my favorite places is LinkedIn, but it's not about where you go to find the leads. It's about your approach, because you could go to an event. You could, you know, you could do a speaking engagement. I just recently did this practice as well with speaking, and it worked just as well. The point about how you get the ultimate result is the strategy that you put behind it and also the attention that you put behind it. Are you looking to help and serve people and make an impact? Or are you just looking to say that you got another corporate contract under your belt? If the latter is the truth for you, then this process won't work, because it takes thought. It takes understanding where there is a through line between what you're doing and what those priorities are of that organization and finding the bridge. So this is not just about mass sending out messages and just hoping to see who responds. It's about being thoughtful. It's about being authentic. It's about being well researched, not to understand their business from a totality standpoint, but what is something that you've been able to identify that can make them say, oh, you know what, we are talking about this, and I would love to hear more of what you have to say. Let's get on the conversation. It is truly that simple. It's not easy in terms of having to approach it more thoughtfully, because you have to sit back and say, okay, let me spend some time to do some research and really look at what's connecting here. But when I think about time invested, most people that have been successful in this area, and that I'll share for you guys to take away from this as well, is they have established a relationship. They have shown from the onset that they can be a thought partner to this organization. And that's what you want in this whole arrangement, is not to just be a vendor or someone who just provides services. That comes a dime a dozen. They can hire trainers to do anything. How can you showcase yourself as a thought leader in your space, as someone who listens to them and addresses their problems? When I tell you guys, I will continue to hammer that in, because when I think about how many different sales conversations I've had, I've been a purchaser as well as a salesperson, and just thinking about my own experiences day to day, everyone's out for what they're trying to say. So you can break the noise and kind of catch someone's eye and make them do a double take just by simply asking more about them. That's the secret. Write that down 100,000 times if you need to, so that you can get it in your head. But when I really sit back and I'm like, what makes this process work? Why has the success been what it is? It's been that relationship piece. Even for people, as I'm even mentioned with the market research, even for people that you don't know, if you show interest in them, that is how they will begin to show interest in what you do. Okay. So I could go on and on about that, because I get super excited about that and passionate about it. And I believe that not enough people really dive deep into what a relationship building opportunity really looks like, and how no matter which platform you use to be able to connect with people, it's all about your messaging, it's all about your approach, and it's about being authentic to you. You could do a newsletter and still get this across. You could do a roundtable event and still be able to get this across. The main thing that we help people do is to develop that clear connection point and learn the process on how you do your research and how you approach a contact and how you invite them to a conversation and what happens on that conversation, or what happens at that event that you invite them to that showcases you as an authority, because that's number one, and really begins to build a solid relationship where they start talking and they start giving you all the information you need, and they want to figure out how they can work with you before you even ask. Okay? That's the goal. All right. Last piece that you want to make sure that you master. So you've understood what your overall offer is. What is it that you bring to market? What is the outcome that you're going to drive? And how is that outcome going to impact on a higher level? Now you've figured out, okay, who can I share this with? It means nothing if I just have this in my head or in a Google Doc or whatever place that you use to outline this. It means more when I can get out and do this work. And so it's important that you develop not only a strategy, you obviously want to get to a point where people are coming to you, but I always recommend, in tandem with having that you have some cold outreach going, some relationships being built in the background, so that you continue to build a B2B division of your business, right? My goal is not just, again, for you to get one contract. It's how can you have repeatable? How can you have multi-year contracts? How can, this person refer you into another organization, so that you continue to increase your impact as much as the capacity that you allow and the goals that you have? So with that being said, that is the marketing piece, finding people. And people are everywhere. Make yourself findable, but ultimately the work that we do, and something that I want you all to take away from this, is how are you being in these conversations? How are you showcasing yourself as a thought partner, as an authority, and as someone that's going to help them get to where they need to get to? That's solid enough in who you are and what you do, and really showcasing that authority in your entire marketing process, no matter what is aligned with you in terms of output and tactics. But what's the strategy behind it? And the strategy, thought leadership, authenticity, and making them the star of the show. The last piece that I'll share with you today is going to be, from then on, now they're intrigued. If you do what I said, if you reach out to anyone, or you have a live, you send an email, you send a LinkedIn message, whatever you do, if you literally speak just about them, you find something that's aligned, you speak about them in the email, you do have a little bit of what you do as authority and thought leadership building, you send that to them, they're going to want to jump on a call with you. So now what, right? Now what are you going to do? What's they're like, yes, we want to talk with you more about this. Then from there, you have to guide them through a process that continues to build this relationship. Most of my clients are service-based businesses. We have people who do leadership development. We have individuals who do mindfulness, wellness coaching, and workshops within organizations. We've had people come to us that are in finance, and the like, right? The whole point of me sharing those things is because, and likely for you as well, whatever you do inside of this organization is going to take them being able to trust you, to whether if even if you're just coming in to do one workshop, they're pulling their team members or they're pulling resources or whatever it may be to come and hear you speak. They're expecting for this to be good. So they're trusting you to come in, do what you say you're going to do, rock the crowd, whatever it is. Or if it's a longer term engagement where you're doing coaching or you're doing, consulting, something that's going to be very high touch, you need to make sure that you build that establishment and that authority and rapport to know not only are they a good fit for you, but are you a good fit for them, right? So both sides of those need to be clear. And a part of the process as well that we teach clients is, how do you qualify these potential corporate leads yourself? It's great for you to make sure that, they have a good feeling about you, but they're also letting you know about them. Are they willing to commit the time, energy, and effort to put in the work that your process requires? And if they're not, they could be great people, but it's not a good fit for your business. And a part of establishing that authority and a part of the self-leadership tactics that we employ or teach our clients is about how you navigate that. Because when you get on the call, it's not big them and little you. A lot of times I hear that with clients, especially as they're getting into the corporate space. It's like, oh, well, they're big them, or, they're this company, or, even for people who've been established in the space, maybe they're going from doing corporate and they're going into government now. And they're like, oh, it seems like a beast. It seems like all of these things. No, you are still who you are. You are still the expert. And all they need you to do is be the expert in what you're supposed to do. You don't need to be an expert in what they do. You don't need to be an expert in their processes, their jargon, all the things. You want to have a good understanding of that to be dangerous, what I like to say. But you don't need to be the expert. Stay in your lane in what you do. And in the sales process, you want to make sure that you guide them through that, so that at each step of the way, they understand and see you as the authority, but they also see you as a trusted thought partner. So what does that look like? That looks like, one, having a discovery call where you're not doing all the talking. This is not a presentation. Often what you would really want to do in this scenario is have touch points in place where clients can learn more about you before you get on the call. So you're not getting on and auditioning. That's not the place at all. And I know sometimes people get into that, and it's easy when you don't have a solid process for them to be like, oh, well, just, tell us more about you. And then all of a sudden you're in a full-on audition. That's not this. And what we teach clients is to be able to build a solid process to where they don't feel the need to audition, one, but again, get the client to talk in that first engagement. So that is the initial call that you want to have. Get them talking, ask them the right questions, all the things, provide them with everything that they need up front in order to understand what it is that you do, and get that stuff out of the way. The next thing is talking about them. And from there, towards the end of the conversation, you want to be able to start seeding and giving them a picture into what a solution will look like. So here's the common mistake that I see here. In these conversations, oftentimes we're listening to try to fit people into a box that we already have. I did a whole video on the 7 mistakes most entrepreneurs make. If you want that, wherever you're seeing this video, send me a message or whatever it is. But we're trying to fit people into a box we already have. That's typically not the case, right? Typically, organizations are looking for some type of customization. They want to be able to partner with you to address their particular solutions. So a part of what we do is ask particular questions to, again, start to co-create as we're going through the conversation, where now at the end, all I'm doing is saying, here's what I see. You shared this, this, this. This is what a solution would look like for you because I asked this question and I mapped that out. Here's how we can support you in this. Does this sound like a good fit for you? You know what that does? It lets them know, one, you're listening. Most salespeople do not listen. Most sales processes are just about how can I, get them again into the box. And that's not the case here. Consultative selling is what I mentioned in the beginning. That's what you're assuming here. And so through that conversation and through that co-creation, now when you get to that point, they know you're listening. They also know that you're strategic and you actually know what you're doing. And you're showcasing yourself as the doctor providing a diagnosis or a treatment plan for what they've described to you. That's a different ball game. And that's what you want to take on. You're not an order taker. You're not just looking at, okay, what they need a workshop, da da da. You want to ask deeper questions. Sometimes this is what I've learned the hard way plenty of times. And I'm not someone here that's standing here perfect and has always knocked this out of the park. My mistakes are what have helped me be able to share this stuff with you today and also go through how you can overcome it. But one of the things there in terms of, going out, getting to this point, sharing what you have to offer, and then putting it in front of them and saying, here's what it looks like, doing that doctor approach is now they're saying, okay, yeah, I originally came in here just to talk about a workshop, but through your questions, now we looked at, there's these individuals that we need coached, or there's these, this big event that we're having. We need a keynote speaker for this. And you begin to uncover and dissect. That's why it's really called a discovery call. It's not called, let's just get on and see what I can get you into. Discovery. This is how this is a benefit for you. Yes, they get more of their problem solved, but this is what the payoff is for you when you understand this. Now it's not just a one-time thing. Now it's not just the workshop. Now it's how can we develop a multi-year opportunity, or maybe the workshop is an entry point. But once I get in and knock it out of the park and showcase myself as a partner, and I've established myself as an authority, you're going to want to do more work with me. And because I ask the right questions, I can uncover an opportunity that's well beyond what the one thing that we discussed. Let me show you this in action and by talking about a client really quickly. So I had a client she is still a current client. A client that's in the university space. And she originally had a conversation with the school about a particular, they were planning for a workshop series around career development, which is what she does. So conversation happened weeks earlier. Of course, she went through everything that she does, based upon the things that they described. They were able to see her website, all the things that they had a great understanding of overall what she does. And they had that initial talk and identified that particular engagement that they had would be something that they would talk about. And so long story short, priorities changed, which please, if anything that you also take from this, there's a lot of great nuggets, but take this as well. Priorities can shift. So in this business, you want to make sure that you understand how this whole situation works in doing business with corporate, which is why the sales process is important. But be nimble enough, have enough things in the pipeline to where if priorities shift with organizations, you don't all of a sudden take a dip. If you have one contract and something happens, which they have the right to be able to cancel these contracts, you don't want to be back at zero. That's the importance of having the balance between, yes, referral business is great. How can we also make sure we're working some things on the back end? Anyway, back to the story. So they had this conversation. It was great. Priorities shift. So they kind of went dark. Several weeks later, they circled back to her because they had a particular initiative going on with the students that they wanted to get her pricing for. And they wanted to, be able to see if this is something that she could do. Through that conversation, through her asking the right questions and all the things, she was able to identify an even greater opportunity from what they originally spoke about. They originally just spoke about doing maybe 1 to 2, a small workshop series there, to now a semester-long event with the students that had workshops, a tentpole event, several workshops, and then I believe working individually with the students around preparing for careers like dress, personal style, and all of those things in order to prepare for interviews. Needless to say, it doesn't matter what the key pieces are. It was a huge opportunity versus what they originally spoke about. Why did that happen? Because, again, coming in like the doctor to approach the problems, but to also speak about what we do and establish that thought leadership, they came back and said, well, this priority shifted, but what can we do here? And through asking those right questions and establishing your thought leadership in the process, you become that person that they circle back to see how they can do this. The one workshop can turn into an entire semester-long engagement because you've established yourself throughout this process and built a relationship to where they know, hey, we've got this going on. Let's go and call such and such and see how they can do that. not just another trainer, not just another person selling another thing, but you have established a relationship and expertise with this person to where, yeah, they could go and call other people, but you've built a rapport. So, and you've shown your expertise. You're going to be one of the first people that they call. Okay. So that is the top three things of how you can really blow up your business with corporate contracts if you understand this relationship piece. If you do the things that I shared, building your authority from the very beginning, which starts with aligning with those priorities, then finding the lead generation system that's for you, but ultimately ensuring you have those connection points, that you show that authenticity and that you're not just quantity, which sometimes there's a time and a place for quantity, but I think there's a healthy blend between healthy outreach, quantity based, but also adding in those relationship building pieces and ensuring that throughout the process, you're showing interest in them and showing how you want to partner with them to make them the hero of the engagement. And then finally, authority selling process, making sure that while, yes, they're auditioning or they're evaluating you, because you're not auditioning. So they're evaluating you. You're providing them with the information they need to make a decision, but you're also evaluating them to see if they would be a good fit for what your process requires, because you are the expert. So if they don't have the time, effort, commitment level to be able to do it, then that's great. Let us know when you do. Okay. And that approach, that confidence in what you do and how you do it and building that relationship, people appreciate that. People appreciate you telling them, I don't think this is a good fit. And so a part of our process too includes that. Sometimes we have to tell people we're not a good fit, and that's okay. And we're not freaking out because we've got our lead generation system, our authentic system, our connection points, our relationships being built in order to provide the next opportunity. We're just standing up and serving in what we do. We're making more people aware about that in a way that's authentic to us. I have so many different tactics around this, but again, it's not about that. It's about what's the best fit for you, and it's about infusing those elements that I shared. That's why when you get on a sales call, if you need to tell someone it's not a good fit, it's great. And guess what? They'll appreciate that. And if anything changes, they'll circle back with you. Or if they know someone else who's a good fit, they'll send them your way. I've had it happen before, and it's worked out well. And again, that is from end to end. It's all about the connection point to the individual client. And it's a nuance. It's not just send a bunch of messages and hope they respond. It's, what are you saying? How are you being? Are you trying to solve a problem for them, or are you just trying to make a sale? You shift that, which I'm not saying that's you. If you're here, I'm sure that's not you. But the people who do that, that's the cookie cutter process. Give them a tailored approach. Have a simple process that you walk them through that establishes that authority, and you'll see that you'll begin to have those consistent contracts in your business. Okay, this was good. I enjoyed this, and my hope is that you take what I shared today, implement it. So decide, here's your next step. Decide, number one, where do you need to focus? Do you already have a solid offer? Do you already have a solid lead generation process on how people know nothing about you can instantly build a rapport and relationship with you? Do you have a authority-based selling process where you can easily qualify people that aren't a good fit, where you have your pricing very clear, where you have a process that you carry them through and not let them kind of carry you through their process? If you have, wherever you feel is the biggest opportunity for you, focus in on that area, do the things that I shared in this video, and there you go. All right. As always, you know where to find me on all platforms, all the things. And if you're ever more interested in working with us and seeing how we specifically put these processes